Hello, friends, and welcome back to the channel. I probably should not have been grabbing the mic during that, but I am a little, I don't know, out of it, I guess, maybe? I don't know. It's been a little while since I've done something on the channel, and I finally had something that I wanted to talk about a little bit, because there have been some recently released films that I haven't really talked about anywhere, so this is a good chance for me to be able to discuss them, because I don't know. I've seen multiple people kind of say that 2024 is off to a bad year when it comes to movies and horror in particular. And I could not disagree more. There have been some absolutely phenomenal films this year, most of which, like, there's going to be plenty that I'm not going to talk about because I reviewed them for Joe Blow. You can check out those reviews. Late Night with the Devil, Infested. Trying to think, there's other things too. But those were just really, really, really fantastic films. And then this one, though, the stuff that I want to talk about today are essentially I want to talk about Immaculate, The First Omen, which those are two, like, they pair together really well. And then Abigail just came out today, so I want to talk about that. We'll get into spoilers on all of them, but I'll try and keep it non-spoiler. I'll try and say when I do spoilers and all that. So Immaculate just came to digital. I was lucky enough to see all three of these movies in theaters, though I've seen some people say I don't think you need to see Immaculate in theaters. Same with First Omen. I think you do. I think that the atmosphere and the soundtrack and the sound design is worth a theatrical experience. And I think you're not getting it fully by watching it streaming. I'm sorry, but you're just not. There might be some people that have a great home theater system and also tremendous self-control, but a lot of people don't. So they're missing stuff. They're on their phone. They're doing whatever. I have sat and watched things with people that then they've been like, oh, I wasn't into it. Just turn and be like, you were on your phone the whole time. What do you mean? You didn't even take it in. How can you even make a judgment on it? I don't know why I got into that little rant, but Immaculate. I really enjoyed it. I would say the hype behind it kind of got a little out of control because the ending is really not much of anything. But I guess if you've not watched a lot of horror, then it could be cute. It's because, I don't know, it's fun in ways. Sydney Sweeney is an actress that I can't quite get my head around because it's I saw that Anyone But You in theaters because I like her and I like Glenn Powell. And I am just baffled by her delivery. She has the weirdest line delivery, I think, possible for just an actress. Nothing she says is believable. And this isn't me being like that one lady who was recently dogging her. Sydney Sweeney is gorgeous. That lady's nuts. And also, I would say Sweeney can act, but it's weird instances. So the first half of this movie, when she has to act more normal, it's not super believable. Something with her delivery. Is it the Valley Girl accent? Is that what I want to say? She has a way of speaking that does not sound natural. And I think that's just her natural speaking voice. So when she's just trying to be herself, it comes across as very weird. But once she starts showing emotion and getting very just emotional, that's when it gets interesting. That's when it's like, oh, this girl can act. Holy shit. And so the second half of Immaculate is great because she's being traumatized and just it's all emotion. So I love a journey film. This really takes you on a journey with Sydney Sweeney's character is Sister Cecilia. And I mean, outside of her, there wasn't a ton that I was super into. I don't know. It was fine. They did stuff and it was fine. And I left the theater going, yep, that was fine. However, another movie came out called The First Omen. And these movies have so many parallels to each other. It's kind of weird. But I think The First Omen is better in every conceivable way. Acting, how the story's presented, the just wonderful cinematography. There's some stuff in Immaculate that kind of bugged me in how it was shot because it felt kind of pointless in a few points where it just kind of felt artsy to be artsy. versus in this where it feels like there's a point to all of it. And talked about Sydney Sweeney. Need to talk about Nell Tiger Free. I was first introduced to her on Game of Thrones. She was one of the Lannister girls, as in I think she was like Cersei and Jaime's one of their bastards, and she gets murdered by the sand snakes, on a boat. And she's good in that, but it's very brief. She's introduced and gone. I mean, I'm sure she's in some scenes, but her major episode is one episode where she dies. And I have not seen Servant. If you have seen Servant, please let me know if I should watch it, because I loved Nell Tiger Free so much in this movie that I immediately went, I need to see more stuff with her in it. And Servant, it sounds like I would be into, but I just kind of want some more opinions. Plus, I don't have Apple TV. I'll have to get a trial and all that stuff. But I'm very interested just because of how good of a damn actress that girl is. And I actually wrote an article on Joe Blow about this, so you can check that out if you'd like to, about how the First Omen was technically like they were able to make a legacy film without it making the same mistakes that so many legacy films make. And I think the biggest part of that is not trying to shoehorn in actors and characters and stuff. Because yes, there is Father Brennan, played by Ralph Ineson, is from the original Omen. But if you don't know that, it doesn't matter. If you do know that, it just adds a little something extra, but it's not detrimental to the story versus all these other movies where it's like the fact you need to know them, you need to know these past characters in order to understand their story and their connection with these events. And it helps that this is a prequel, because then you don't have certain things. Like the only thing that you have to make sure is that you get Damien into the arms of Gregory Peck, because that's the beginning of the Omen. And spoilers here, they're able to make the connections to Gregory Peck, but that photo, which is so cool. It's just a photo. They don't have to do the stupid like Leia or Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One. They don't have to do that where it's a CGI recreation. Thank God. Thank God. It does not work in any way for them to. Oh, I'm just so glad. Like, this just proves a photo goes so far. You don't need to do all this other insane stuff. Oh, and I also want to mention too, because this will spoilers for Immaculate and First Omen. It seems at one point during Immaculate that they're going to do an inside style C-section, and they abandon it pretty quickly, and she just gives birth to the kid naturally. And then the whole thing is it's one shot. She kills the baby with a rock. Very well done. And yes, it's shocking to see a baby get killed in a film, but they don't show it. It's all just the sound design and stuff. So it works. It works very well, but it's also, I don't know, especially when the First Omen does the inside C-section, and it is so brutal to watch, and her performance is so good. Sydney Sweeney's performance is phenomenal. The fact that they just stayed on her that whole time, like that's just amazing. But there's an equally amazing shot from Nell Tiger Free when her water breaks after the car accident, and it's a homage to Possession, where camera's loose and you just watch her react and like her body contorting, and it's glorious. It was the moment that I went, oh my fucking God, this girl is phenomenal. I want to see her in everything now. It's very, very cool. There's various twists that in this film that I thought worked very well. I didn't love the whole twin baby angle, but they could totally do something good in a sequel with that. So I'm curious. And I'm not as, I don't know, in bed with the Omen series as many other franchises. I've seen the original Omen and I've seen the remake because it fucking got awful. And I've seen parts of the one with Sam Neill. Is that part 2? I haven't seen 3 or 4. It's just a series that has passed me by. So I don't have the crazy connections. So there might be even more that I missed but the amount of connections they make, feels like just the right amount. They're not going overboard. And I really like the Jackal angle. That was really cool and kind of continues this trend of the church not quite being great. And I like that because the church tends to suck. Yeah, I don't know. I think we have covered those. Oh, and then in terms of ratings, Immaculate would probably be a 6, maybe. No, that ending's good. 7. I'm gonna have to rewatch it. I've lost all desire to rewatch it. Like genuinely, the First Omen destroyed my like desire to rewatch Immaculate, or just I don't know. Just felt like, oh, this is a better version. It's like when you watch Volcano or no, when you watch Deep Impact or Armageddon, watch those two and you're just like, both the same thing. I guess I'm just gonna watch Armageddon whenever I want get that fix, because who needs Deep Impact? I probably just pissed someone off. But but I would give Immaculate's a 6 or a 7, I would say leaning 7 for the second half of the film. And then the First Omen, I mean 8 if not 9. Right, I would say 9. 9 out of 10. That's how fucking good that movie is. My only negative against the film is the CGI. That's really it. But let's get into the film that released today. Yeah, this is a movie that I was really looking forward to. I really like Radio Silence. Looked like my kind of film. And then there was a lot of people saying it's like the Lost Boys and like, what's the other one I've seen? I saw Fright Night getting compared. It's not like any of those movies. It's not punk rock vampire. It's not cool. This is an ensemble that's very uneven in terms of its ensembleness. So I think most people are aware that Angus Cloud passed away shortly after filming for this. And I think it's incredibly obvious in this because it almost feels like there's stretches where it's like, why is the only person that has any lines Dean, which is Angus Cloud? And it kind of feels like, well, he's not in the movie much, so we want to give him his due since this is his final role, or one of. I don't know. He's great. Like the role is really funny, and like I don't know how the guy acts in real life, so I assume he's just doing a really, really good job. And he's one of the funniest parts. Him and Kevin Durand. If all the characters were like them, where they seem to be having fun with it, I would have liked it a lot more. As is, I'm gonna go over a lot of criticisms with this film, but I did not hate the film. I'll say my rating right now is just so that then it's out there. I would give it a 6. I think it's very average. I would say 6 is well, that technically the average is 5, so 6 technically a little above average. Has some moments, doesn't quite land for me. And I'm gonna go into so many negatives. It's gonna seem like I hate the movie, but I did not hate the movie. It's more of just these things bugged me. And I was really looking forward. I was expecting a 9 out of 10 movie. So as I've stated in the past, when you have higher expectations, it's the little things can kind of get to you. So first of all, I'm not a Melissa Barrera fan at all. Thought she was really bad in Scream 5. I thought she recovered in Scream 6. But it's kind of all back here, and I don't know. I can't get into her style of acting, and the character of Joey does her no favors, because they are consistently like the number of times that she is all pompous and cocky about something, that then the thing that she was pompous about, she ends up being wrong. It's very frustrating. And they have this whole scene where she like picks apart who the people are, and it's so dumb and really convoluted, and like I did not like her. Dan Stevens was fun, very stereotypical, especially once there's some twists. It's like, oh god, super stereotypical. But I liked what they went for with him. I really enjoy Dan Stevens. He's great in everything. Catherine Newton is just phenomenal. And I guess this is where I need to get into spoilers. So it's a good thing I said the rating already, because one thing that really bugged me is that they showed in the trailer that Catherine Newton was a vampire, gets turned into a vampire. They show it. So it's like, I knew that was coming. And just like all the marketing stuff too, it made me go, huh, I think Joey and Abigail are going to team up in the end. Didn't know how, but knew that. And guess what? They teamed up in the end. Lame. Which, yes, that's a marketing problem. And marketing also too. And I could be wrong about my timing because I just glanced at my watch, so I could be off. But it was about 45 minutes until the vampire reveal, which, I'm sorry, but you literally have said, like, that's what your whole marketing behind this movie is, ballerina vampire. Like, we already know that. Why is it being treated like a mystery? It's frustrating. It's kind of like 65, where it's like, okay, if your movie, the point of it is hiding that it takes place during dinosaur times and in the past, then you need to be on the same page as your marketing team. Like, you shouldn't even be agreeing to make this movie if you're like, hey, we want to hide the vampire stuff. So that aspect doesn't wait, because you're just waiting. You're sitting around waiting for the vampire element to be introduced. And then when it is introduced, it's so inconsistent. So goddamn inconsistent. At one point, Abigail, it can move lightning fast and she's killing people in an instant where we can't even see and we can't even fathom how that's happening. And then the next, she's like struggling with Catherine Newton. Or it's like, yes, there's the angle where you can be like, oh, well, she's playing. They say several times, she's playing with her food. That only goes so far, because then we see when she's fighting with, what's his name, Frank later, also gets her ass handed to her. Which again, they then do this weird vampire angle with Frank that then he's just as powerful as Abigail, even though she's hundreds of years old. What? That's lame, and adds so many plot holes, because how people transform, it's like, then there should be vampires everywhere. You've by making it like a zombie thing, you've now made it so it can spread so much further. And also, Rickles gets killed. It's a neck injury, which technically could be her just swiping away, but seems like a quick bite. So, or anything, I would assume quick bite, because it's, again, throat. Why does he not get turned into a vampire? They don't make that a thing. So there's times that just bug the shit out of me with that. And like the deaths themselves. Angus Cloud, he's decapitated off screen. We don't see it. Kevin Durand, he just gets bitten on the neck. Sammy gets exploded. Frank gets exploded. Lambert gets exploded because they're vampires. So it's like, yeah, the first time it happens, the explosion thing happens, it's like, oh, cool. But when it's the same death for 3 different characters, like, what's the point? That element was really lame. What other element was lame? I didn't like how they went about. I don't know. It didn't land for me. The dialogue was really weak, which I wasn't expecting, because I guess just because of the Scream films, I had this kind of false sense of them having very good dialogue, and I don't know. I thought it was very, very weak. There's a moment where, and I don't like to bash child actors, so I'm not going to, but I'm just going to say Abigail has a monologue at one point that is very unbelievable, like in a not good way, where it comes across very hokey and like a 12-year-old saying big person words, and it didn't work for me. It kind of reminded me of The Sacrifice Game, which I think is a similar problem of like the whole movie hinges on this child performance, and the child just doesn't. It's not like she's a bad actress. She just doesn't have the screen presence of like, oh yeah, this is a scary vampire. And then complain about CGI enhancements in First Omen. They're not nearly as bad as here. Every vampire shot is CGI enhanced. They seem to hate how their mouths look when they're not. I don't understand why. They do all these weird things. I don't like the blocking. The blocking is bad, which bad blocking, it stands out because it's just like you can see the wire work with the girl. You can see it just never feels natural. She never feels like a real life character. It always just feels like this actor is in, oh, this stunt, that stunt. You never really fully, I don't know, fall into that world and believe it. So was really disappointing. And then they managed to make Giancarlo Esposito completely useless and kind of a waste of space and time and really corny and didn't work. So that's disappointing. Again, big spoiler, but I did really like Matthew Good showing up as Dracula. I hadn't looked at the cast list, so I had no idea. Had I looked at the cast list, I mean, it's pretty obvious who he's playing because he's like the last one listed and it's his father. It's like, oh, wonder who that is. Again, they use too much CGI in his fucking mouth. Those fucking enhancements. I hate that. It's like, just leave it. Just leave it. It looks good. It looks good normal. I thought this is not the movie that I thought that I was getting. It was much dumber, much hokier. The rules didn't make sense. And I wanted to like it more. There's some fun like Catherine Newton is great in it. Catherine Newton, Kevin Durant, and Angus Cloud. Highlights of the movie. Really, really great. Dan Stevens has some moments, but his character is just so stereotypical. Oh, and that's the thing too. They do this whole spoilers. Like the whole thing is that Abigail has daddy issues and she's trying to prove to her daddy Dracula that she can help him out by taking out the people who have wronged him. And so fucking dumb. So dumb. You know what's cooler? This vampire needs to be fed and we tricked you guys and we're taking out like you evil bastards who are trying to kidnap children. That's more interesting than the route that they go, the weird gangster dumb route. But God, I hate this movie. It's just shit annoyed me. I think I'll be able to watch this in 4 or 5 years and get some entertainment out of it more so than I did last night in my viewing. Because yeah, just frustrated. Frustrated is the key word here. But yeah, I mean, we've covered it. That's pretty much all. I just wanted to talk about a few movies and hopefully the rest of the year will be a little better. I'm really looking forward to Long Legs and Cuckoo. So I know, fingers crossed they're good. And I don't know, even if they aren't, at least we got some very unique marketing campaigns out of it. I'll take that. And I guess I should say too, before I let you guys go, make sure you check out the Needlessly Nostalgic podcast that I am doing with my good buddy Lance Velchek. We have got, God, how many episodes are in the can at this point? 11? 11 episodes are up. Freddy vs. Jason just aired today. It's a podcast where we move through different movies, franchises right now. And like we're starting with the Friday the 13th film franchise. So it's 12 movies. And we do a ranking. And then our next one up is we're covering the John Carpenter filmography, which I've only ever seen half of his filmography. So we're a couple episodes into recording those. So it's been very, very fun and very cool to like revisit those films or visit them for the first time. But make sure you check that out. I'll put a link in the description for like the Spotify, because Spotify is what I think most people are listening to it on. But we're on every major podcast platform, Audible, Apple Podcasts, whatever, Google Podcasts. We're everywhere. So listen to us wherever you are comfortable, wherever you listen to your podcasts. It's a really, really good time. It's the highlight of my week. So hopefully you guys can enjoy it. But yeah, that's really it. I will see you guys when I see you, because you guys know how inconsistent I am with these things. But yeah, you guys enjoy your weekend. Don't go see Abigail. Go see The First Omen. Or watch Immaculate on streaming. That's a better way to spend your time. Or Late Night with the Devil came out today on Shudder. Check that out. Goodbye.